Hey there everybody, what's up? How you doing? I hope everybody is doing great out there. I'm back making some new content that hopefully you guys will all enjoy. Now, for today's video, it's going to be a little bit different than the usual ones because I have actually seen these clips beforehand, and they kind of left me thinking, and I wanted to kind of get my perspective out. And I know that not everybody's going to have the same views as me, and that's totally awesome because that's exactly how we move forward as a society. But they really sat with me, and I just kind of want to, just share what I think and kind of see what you guys think too, because I mean, these are topics that are going to keep coming up. They're not going to go away anytime soon. And I feel like it's a good way to kind of start, with the new content and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and play the videos, and we'll see exactly, what you guys think at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and do this.
Okay, this is for the men who, whenever a woman says that she doesn't need a man or that women just don't need men, your response is, well, men made everything. Men made that phone you're typing on. Men made the makeup that you wear. Men made this. Men made everything. You need men. You need men to do this. Those men. So if men made everything and you're patting yourself on the back for everything that men have made, why aren't you taking credit for the bad stuff? It's all good and dandy when you're talking about how a man made a phone and cups and makeup and cars and all that shit. It's all good when we're talking about that. But when we get to the dark side, all of a sudden you want to exclude yourself from that. You'll say that men made everything, because everything means good and bad. You'll say how men made everything, but when we're trying to hold men accountable for the bad things now, y'all don't exist there. So what's going on with that? Did men make everything, or did they just make the good stuff?
Alright, so this video really kind of hits a lot of points that I feel aren't really out there. I mean, I am really not a feminist, and I have my reasons for that, and honestly, I know it's not a normal thing to see a female who's really, not truly into feminism. The thing is, with this right here, I feel like she's very one-sided. She's saying that men are saying that they created everything, and that their point of view is that when it's good, and they're all for that. The thing is, we do the same thing. Women do this all the time, and I know, I'm guilty of it, she's guilty of it. We're all guilty of it in one form or another, but when we're talking and we're angry with somebody, we're going to say that we did all this great stuff. But of course, we're not going to want to take responsibility for the bad things because, maybe we didn't cause it specifically. Or maybe, it's just not something that's widely viewed, within your social circle or within your group, whatever. But, you can't really rant at an entire gender and expect them to be like, okay, we're going to take responsibility for every last thing that's gone wrong in the world when there are so many different things that kind of come into that. And without saying that we do that too, I feel like, that argument itself is just really one-sided, and it kind of has to be said. Women are just as responsible for all the crazy as men are, and we do come up and say, okay, we did this, we do this, we're responsible for all these good things, but trust me, when it comes down to it, if you tell a woman that they've done something wrong, they're not going to want to take responsibility for it, or that their gender is just as responsible as men. They don't want to. And we're all people, we're all human, we've done crazy things, and we've done messed up things, and it has to be said. We've done the same thing, so you can't be mad at one side when you as the opposite side have also done the same thing. So that's just kind of where that one kind of bugged me.
One of the more interesting studies I came across in my PhD research, participants were asked to do some tests on a computer where they were paired up with a woman named Jessica, except Jessica didn't exist, but they didn't know that. Half of the men were told that Jessica did better than them, the other half were told that they did better than Jessica. Here's where it gets interesting, because after they were told those results, they were then asked to select an avatar to represent Jessica. And if they were outperformed by the woman, they were more likely to select avatar here with less clothing. But it gets more complex than that, because that only happens some of the time. Generally, the men who were outperformed by Jessica had feelings of public discomfort afterwards. But only if that public discomfort then led to anger did they select avatars with less clothing. Whereas for the men who had public discomfort but it didn't lead to anger, they actually selected avatars with more clothing. So how do you interpret these results? The authors of the study believed that by selecting avatars with less clothing, it was a way for those men who felt threatened to gain back a sense of power.
Okay, so this one here is very different, and honestly for me, it's kind of the most triggered one because they're throwing out studies and statistical data that they feel, show their point. for me, the biggest thing here is, where is the opposing data? What other, studies are out there that show exactly what he's saying? This is one specific study that had one specific viewpoint. So I got curious, and honestly, I went to, the scholarly websites, and I viewed the study to see exactly what was going on. And he is leaving out a lot of key things, like specifically the fact that this one study had no female participants. They didn't do this study for the opposite sex. They just did it specifically looking at males. What he is also missing, even though he is a PhD, and I mean, I'm pretty sure he understands what he's looking at, is that there are specific targets that they mess with prior to getting their conclusions. They made these men either upset or happy prior to determining what their reactions were going to be. So in the cases where they're saying that the men who chose the overly sexual, viewpoints of the women, in reality, what he isn't telling you is that beforehand, they tore apart these men by making them feel emasculated prior to going through with the test. So they made them feel bad about themselves, and then they went ahead and told them that these women did better than them, and just to see exactly what reactions. They also had a secondary point to it where they didn't do this to see what kind of reaction that they received. And the study itself is a lot more intrinsic to what this entire thing is trying to say. But what my main issue here is the fact that they didn't use any women participants. There's no correlating research to say that this isn't the case for females. But in reality, we all know that if you tell a girl or a woman that they are, being compared to somebody else and that they're worse in one way or another, looks, how they perform, anything in that, you make them feel just as bad. When it comes down to it, we're going to have the same reactions. And that's where this study is lacking. He's trying to use this as a reason to say that men feel emasculated, so they're going to be overly sexual about, the individual that may have been doing better than them. In reality, no. Women do the same thing. In reality, if a female is going to, do worse than a male, and you've made her mad beforehand, then yeah, she's going to make any kind of viewpoint of this guy to make it seem okay in your mind. That's what they're doing. They're making it easier for themselves because you've already made them feel bad. So there's just a lot about this. He's using it as a very scientific format to say that this is what men do. But in reality, he's leaving out a lot of parts that would make a very big difference to those actually trying to understand what he's saying. And this is probably one of my biggest peeves, because honestly, when it comes down, if you're going to use scientific research, you have to throw in all the key details. You can't just pick and choose which ones you want to say and then not expect everyone to understand exactly what the components are here. And he's not doing that. So for anybody watching this video on TikTok who doesn't have the same curiosity that I do, they just see this video, they say, oh, there's a study out there that says that, if you make a man feel emasculated, or that if this man feels like he's threatened by a woman, he's going to be overly sexual about her. No, that's not the case. And the fact that there is no correlating study to view this in the format of dealing with women shows me that it was a one-sided study to begin with, and there is a lot of work that needs to be done, because honestly, I'm guilty of it, and I know a bunch of other women that are guilty of it. When you feel like somebody's targeting you in one way or another, you are going to do anything in your mind to make yourself feel better about that scenario. That's exactly what's going on here. And I guess that's why this one right here actually kind of gets me a little bit, because they're using statistical data in an improper format to kind of get you guys into a mindset that this is where it goes and this is how it is. But in reality, it's not. So if you ever see any videos that are using statistical data or using studies to try to tell you something, please go read it. Because if you don't, then you're not going to know all the little details. I know some of these studies are boring. Trust me, there's a lot of words and details in there that make no sense. But trust me, if you really want to understand the viewpoint of what's going on, check out the studies.
Misogynistic men will only stop pestering you once you've told them that you have a boyfriend. It's because they rather respect not upsetting another man than accepting the consent and a no from a woman.
Okay, so hear me out. He is specifically saying that the only time a man will go ahead and stop pursuing a woman is when they've been told that that female has a boyfriend, and that the only reason that they're okay with moving on is when because they don't want to anger that man. The thing is, women do the same thing. How many times have you heard that this woman or this girl will not leave this guy alone, no matter how many times he tells her no, until he says he's got a girlfriend? And even then, sometimes if he says it, she still won't go away. It's the same concept. The only difference is there's a specific term that goes with this, and the fact that right now this viewpoint is more out there than anything else. But women do the same thing. You're at a club, you're at a party, you're at any kind of social event, and you really like this individual in front of you, and you want to pursue that person. Sometimes women will keep doing it. And even if they know that this guy has a girlfriend, his girlfriend can be across the room sometimes, and they will still attempt to pursue it until that girl comes and tells this person, leave my man alone. The thing is, this view is just very one-sided, and I'm tired of hearing these one-sided views saying that men are the problem, when in reality, us as women do the same thing. And I am not against either or. I'm honestly a very specific type of person who's very into equality. But, I mean, come on. You gotta admit exactly when we do the same thing and when we have the same faults, because it's the right thing to do. If you want to have the proper viewpoint of everything, you gotta have the details for both sides. And that's exactly what they're not doing here. So that's why this one really gets me a little bit. But yeah, so women do the same thing, and it's really no different than a man. It's just, I guess, exactly how much you really want to pursue that person that's going to detail exactly whether you stop or not. And everybody is different in that aspect. Alright, so like I was saying earlier, this video is a little bit different than the usual content that I make, but it was something that I really had to get out there because I feel like all this stuff is kind of hitting the internet, and, you know, especially the younger viewers are seeing this, and everyone's getting a very one-sided view. For me, you can't really, you know, say this stuff without mentioning exactly what the other side is doing, because men do the same thing as women do the same thing as men in a lot of these aspects. And especially if you're going to be, you know, saying this information out there, you know, putting it on the internet, you gotta be fair to the other side. I'm a very equal kind of a person. I believe that both genders have their good points and they have their flaws. I also know that my point of view isn't a very, you know, well accepted point, especially within the female ranks, because honestly, a lot of women do believe that other females shouldn't have these views just because of, you know, who we are as a gender. But in my case, just knowing what I know and how things go, I can't get on board with that kind of viewpoint. And I feel like, you know, everyone should have the right to see both sides and make their own opinions, and that's just kind of how it needs to be. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. Also, make sure to hit that little notification button, that way you guys know when I drop my next video. And also, if you get the chance, please check out my Twitch channel on Wednesdays and Fridays. You may enjoy those videos. I think you will, so please go ahead and check that out. But I appreciate you guys watching this video, and hopefully you guys check out the next one. And see you guys later. Bye.